It's time for us to dive back into the Create mod. Thank you as always for tuning in to DiscoTech. This is our brand new modded Let's Play series. Now, if you're not familiar with Create, it is a tech mod that allows you to automate things in your world using the power of rotation. Now, Create isn't the only mod in the pack that we're using. We've also got a few other mods such as Farmer's Delight, Supplementaries, just, mods that kind of fit the same vibe. They're mainly here just to make our playthrough a little bit more interesting, but Create will be the focus. I probably won't be releasing this mod pack to the public, but I'll try to remember to leave a list of the mods we're using in the description below. And hey, while you're down there, why not leave a like on the video? It's been a little while since we've uploaded a new series, and according to YouTube's algorithm, that basically means content creator suicide. So if you could do that, and maybe even consider subscribing, it would really help out. Now, it's probably pretty obvious that I have done a little bit of work in this world already. We've got a couple of diamond tools, we've even got enchantments, a farm setup, and a terrible house. But don't worry, I do have plans for a proper base later down the line, and let me tell you, it's going to be fun. So without further ado, let's get started making some items from Create. I've got a list here of all the things that I want to get made. Probably won't get through the whole list today, but we'll do the best we can. I'm especially excited about these chain conveyors and frog ports, but they both require a decent amount of resources to get started, so let's get into the basics. Now, the main ingredient we need for pretty much everything in Create is this andesite alloy. It is quite literally the building block of the entire mod. I've made a decent amount of it, and we've got plenty of andesite left over, but this stuff is going to go fast, so we'll have to make it count. We're just going to ignore the fact that that was the worst attempt at opening a door I have ever seen, and I'm the one that did it. The first machine that we want to put together is a mechanical press. Now, it is a little on the pricey side, requiring an entire block of iron, but this thing is going to be incredibly useful because it will allow us to make sheets. Excuse me, I am in the middle of a tutorial. If you guys can just vanish, I would appreciate that. I'm so happy that now that we're in 1.21, we don't have to worry about getting bad omen immediately after killing a pillager captain. We just get this fancy bottle, which maybe we'll take a sip or two from, but that's all. So to give you an idea of how rotation actually works, let's set up a water wheel. We'll put it right here for the moment because it needs to be raised up a little bit for what I'm planning to do. Going to connect one of these shafts to it, which are made by putting some andesite alloy together like this, and are also used for a bunch of other recipes in the mod. You'll notice that now that we have water here, this water wheel is starting to spin, and this shaft that we've connected is spinning alongside it. Now, as we add more shafts onto this, those will spin as well. And if we now apply our mechanical press here, you can see it's got a little square in the middle here. Looks an awful lot like those shafts, which is spinning as well. So we've got a depot here, and we've placed some gold ingots on top of it. And there we go. We've made the advancement bonk. And our gold ingots are being processed into golden sheets. There's the other two. If we now take these alongside a cogwheel, which I don't think we have any left of, but boom and boom, cogwheel there. Then we can combine those together. I'll just use our EMI menu to make a wrench. This is going to be a very useful part of the mod because basically it is how we interact with everything. If we come over to our mechanical press, we can right click. For this one, it has to be on the top, but you'll notice clicking on that changes the direction that it's facing. That works for shafts, it works for water wheels, it works for most of the blocks in the mod. We can also shift right click and instantly pick those items up, so we don't have to worry about mining them up with a tool and using up durability. So just like that, we are all set to get into the nitty-gritty of this mod, but I think I want to make a little bit of a wardrobe change. Our suit is fancy, it's lovely, but it doesn't really fit the aesthetic of this mod. So if we just take a little spin, then boom, look at that. We've got our fancy new steampunk themed skin all ready to go. Now, because this mod is all about automation and making things easier, one of the first things I want to get rid of is these guys. Smelting, ew. Terrible. We need an alternative. I mean, look at all of these resources we're going to need to smelt up. I would much rather make the machines do that for me. So what we are going to do is we are going to toss down 4 of these iron ingots, and our press is very slowly going to compact them into iron sheets. Now there are ways to speed this up later on, but we don't really have the resources necessary to do that yet, so we'll just have to wait for this to do its thing. There we go, those are finished. We are going to combine these in our crafting table alongside some andesite alloy in order to make a propeller. We can then use that alongside a casing and a shaft in order to make an encased fan. I'm actually going to lay out a second water wheel for this because the mechanical press uses up a ton of what is called stress, which is essentially how much force your machines can output. So we've set this up as a separate one, and we are going to place a depot 1 block away from it. Now technically, with both the press and the fan, you don't need to have items on a depot in front of them, but it does make sure that they'll stay in one place and that they don't despawn. Next up, we are going to need to connect some shafts to this, and something I want to try is we have an add-on in here. Yes, spruce shafts from a Create Encased. I want to see how these look. Let's pop this guy out and pop that in. Okay, interesting. There's a little bit of a contrast going from the other machines, but I think that looks nice. And it also helps that these shafts are a little bit cheaper than the andesite equivalent. There you are. So we are going to take this over to this machine and place that down right in front of it. So now you can see there were some particles coming off of this, and we should be able to see just the very edge. Oh, apparently we can see a lot more than that because we've got something going on here. But you can see those particles have come through and are now turning orange. If we throw some items onto this depot, for example, all of this raw iron that we collected earlier, we start getting these smoky particles coming off of it, and eventually all of these will be smelted up as if they were being smelted in a furnace. There we go. We can take these off now. We've got a full 18 iron ingots, and we didn't have to use a single piece of fuel. We're going to need a bunch of andesite casings, so let's just make those. And then we also need 1 large cogwheel. Putting these together will give us some chain conveyors. Now these things are a lot of fun. I'm going to borrow this water wheel for a second to show you exactly how they work. Let's set up the first one maybe here. I'm going to place our water wheel down right there, run a couple of shafts coming up out of it. There we go. Ooh, look at that. It's a big boy. Now these things are able to reach up to 32 blocks away, so I am just going to count that off. All right, I think this is the other end. We place down our opposite chain conveyor right here, then we can now connect these together. However, you'll notice that, well, nothing's happening here. This one's not moving, not rotating, not connected at all. That's because, as the name implies, we're going to need some chains. I always forget that chains are a little on the expensive side. This will be less of a problem later on once we're able to automate iron, but in the meantime, I'm actually going to make these using zinc instead, because not only can we use iron to make chains in Create, we can also use zinc. Thank goodness we just set up our little smelting system here, because that would be a lot of fuel to go through. There we go, our zinc has been smelted up. Let's get the rest of those chains made. There we go, 32 chains. Now it is 1 chain for every block of distance that these things are going to travel. So let's come over here, click on this guy, and you see it says select a second conveyor to connect. And make our way over to this side. Oh, is it only 31 blocks? We might have to move this 1 block closer. I probably just miscounted because that's definitely something I would do, but you can see now can connect. Oh, that's interesting. Even though we went 32 blocks, it only used up 12 of our chains. Well, that's nice. So the main uses of these chains are supposed to be transporting packages and moving rotational power over long distances, but the most fun use of them is if we come over here and we right-click with our wrench, Look at that. Now we are connected to this line of chains, and it's going to take us all the way over to the opposite chain conveyor over there. It's a little bit slow at the moment, but it's so cool that we're able to do this. I think in order to keep track of all of our various machines, I want to build a factory, and this large flat area that you see here is exactly where we're going to put it. I don't think I'll do the full thing quite yet, just because I'm going to need a ton of blocks, but I'll get the resources collected and we should be able to get at least the foundation in place. So I'll work on that, and then let's jump into our very first time-lapse of the series. Roll it! There we go. That is the start of our factory. I've placed a bunch of the machines that we've been using here. We've also put a windmill in the background there. Oh, was trying not to show off that surprise quite yet, but I have put a ton of these chain conveyors in place. So now we can just jump onto here and zoom around to fall and take damage, apparently. Right now everything's being powered by this single windmill. I'm probably going to either add more windmills or upgrade this to steam power before too long, because we are definitely going to need more. You can see that we're already using up 70% of our total stress capacity, and we've only put a couple of machines in here so far, so we're definitely going to need more. We've got our press set up over here, which as you can see is much faster than it was before. I've also added in an automated sawing station over here, which means that we can throw andesite alloy or any type of wood into here and saw it into exactly what we need, such as these stripped spruce logs, as well as shafts. Normally we would make shafts by crafting 2 andesite alloy together, but with this we can throw a single andesite alloy into there, it gets sawed, and we get 6 shafts back. So we are more than doubling our output. The way that I've got this set up right now is we have these gearboxes all along the outer perimeter. They're all being run through these shafts, which I've just messed up. Let's take the cover off of this. And you can see it's a shaft. These run all the way along here until they meet over here in the middle. And they go down the 3 outer sides of the factory. Let's just cover this back up with one of these light gray casings. We've got these from the extra casings mod, and you can see we've used them all over the place for all of these different nodes. There are 13 of these nodes around the edge of our factory, and if we want to plug into one, we can just pop down a block, and in this case with the millstone, it's powered from underneath, so it's super easy to add and remove things from the factory. Eventually we'll have a second floor, which we'll be able to reach using our chain conveyors. Not quite sure what I'm going to be putting up here yet, so for now it's kind of just... Oh, and it looks like the hitbox for these is a little smaller than they look, so we'll have to be careful about riding on these. I'll definitely be cleaning all of this up later on, but for right now it's fun to just be able to ride around on these chains. We've even got one coming over to our little starter base here. Lovely. Our last addition for the moment is this wood cutting machine. If we stop this, you can see we've got a water wheel with a mechanical bearing on top of it into a radial chassis, which technically we don't need this, we can just glue other things to it, but these are fun to use. And we've just had a tree grow, so let's demonstrate it. We right click, it will start to turn around, breaks down that tree, and as it reaches the middle here, these portable storage interfaces connect. So all of the items that are being pulled into this inventory whenever it digs something up get transferred into this chest here. All of this is looking great so far, but there is one other key ingredient that I'm going to need before we can move forward with anything else, and that is brass. And if we look in here, as we can see, the only way of making brass is by mixing together copper and zinc in a heated mixer, which I believe we are going to need a blaze burner in order to heat. So we are going to have to make our way into the Nether, which is one of my favorite things to do. Okay, I think I've got pretty much everything that I need for a trip to the Nether. I am going to be leaving my backpack with a bunch of the stuff that I use more frequently here, because I want to make sure that in the event that we do die, we have some supplies to make it back to wherever we end up. So let's light ourselves a portal and jump right in. Alright. Crimson Forest. Not a bad starting point. Let's just make ourselves a little waypoint here. Portal, there we go. And we'll take a look at our map. Oh, well, it looks like this isn't going to be too bad after all. Now, I realized in editing that I didn't really explain this next part. Basically, we made these blaze burners, which allow us to capture blazes and use them to heat various contraptions. So we traveled to the nearby fortress and grabbed a bunch of them. Now, in order to make full use of this thing, we are going to need to make ourselves a mechanical mixer. So we'll get a cogwheel. What else do we need for the whisk? A bit more andesite alloy, which we've got. Craft all of that together. We've got our whisk and our mechanical mixer. I'm thinking we do this over here. So if we go blaze burner and then place down a basin, then the mechanical mixer on top of that. There we go. Now we're going to make a large cogwheel because this mixer needs to be sped up. Ow. And I believe if we place down a large cogwheel right here, boom. And it's going plenty fast enough for what we need. Let's now toss a bit of copper in here, as well as some zinc. And then we just need to power this. So feed our blaze burner friend some charcoal, and you can see fairly quickly it is making some brass. Beautiful. Oh wow, and because it's spinning so quickly, the blaze burner is still going even though we've used up all of the ingots that we had in there. But look at that, brass ingots. These open up a whole ton of possibilities for us. But unfortunately, that is going to have to wait until next episode. If there's a certain contraption you want to see us make, let me know down in the comments and I will see about building it. Leave a like if you liked, subscribe if you haven't, and as always, be good to each other, be good to yourselves, and I will catch you on the airwaves. Stay tuned.